Hi everyone, I'm Kilu,
the dancing clown.
and I'm here to give you business advice. I've been looking at the way companies have been doing business recently and it really makes my blood boil. Entities which should have this in the bag are making rookie mistakes left and right. Fear not, however, because I'm on the case. Here are 3 basic rules that will give you an advantage in business in the current year. Number 1. Don't listen to Twitter. Have you noticed how many companies base their actions on what Twitter says? Staggering, isn't it? Twitter is a cesspool of filth. It's where nuance goes to die. The very format of the website doesn't allow for an actual conversation to take place. What you get instead are quick ideas that, in reality, can be shouted out in less than 5 seconds. I occasionally visit Twitter, and every time I do, I feel like I'm losing brain cells. I've created an account once, and within minutes, I was arguing with a person I don't know about a thing I don't care about. That's what Twitter is good for, pointless bickering. What it's not good for is basing your business model on, and yet that doesn't stop companies from doing so. A few thousand random accounts send messages to a company and suddenly the company changes its policies and business practices. Why? Probably because they have this outdated model where the opinion of one person is representative of 1,000 or so potential customers. It's outdated because, in the age of social media, people often say things for the hell of it. It's very easy to spend a few seconds to anonymously post something on a whim from your phone while sitting on a toilet, and you don't actually have to be a customer to pretend to be one. Companies will often take it at face value because it's much easier and faster than doing actual research, and as a result, they end up with changes that don't benefit them or the actual customers. Number 2. Don't get political. It's one thing to quietly donate to a political organization. A lot of companies do that and they're doing just fine. It's another thing to openly make a divisive political statement. Even if it does bring short-term profit, it almost always backfires long-term. Let's say that you run a company that sells energy drinks. You see that Black Lives Matter is the talk of the town, so you decide to make a statement supporting it. While that might give you some attention, it might bring terrible long-term consequences.
Consequences will never be the same.
Guess what? Black Lives Matter is a highly divisive political organization and not everyone is on board with their message and actions. By supporting them, you automatically alienate everybody who isn't on board with what they say and do. What's more, the people who will become fond of you will turn away as soon as you say something they don't like. Meanwhile, the ones you've alienated will never come back. Ever. You've lost that portion of the market forever.
Forever, forever, ever, forever.
What I'm trying to say is, when it comes to politics, businesses should just
Shut the fuck up!
You are here to sell a product, not preach. Number 3. Don't attack your core demographics. This one baffles me the most, and I have no clue why companies, especially those which have been around for a long time, do this. It's okay to expand your reach and attract new demographics, but if you have a sizable and dependable audience which has stuck with you for many years, you don't push them away. You keep pandering to them. Take the comic book divisions of Marvel and DC, for example. For decades, their core demographic has been nerdy dudes, mostly white nerdy dudes. There are other people who buy their stuff, but it's mostly white nerdy dudes. In the 2010s, however, feminism and intersectionality became mainstream, so both Marvel and DC have decided to embrace those ideologies. Instead of talented creators, they hired social activists in order to fill arbitrary quotas, who then proceeded to create subpar content often filled with on-the-nose partisan socio-political messages, as well as attack the core demographic of mostly white nerdy dudes, publicly calling them every name you can think of and slowly but surely chasing them away. The new demographics didn't really show up to buy their content, but they sure gave them likes and retweets. People moved on to manga, which panders to everybody and doesn't politicize the content. Just before writing the script for this video, DC Comics has fired a lot of people because they're not making enough profit to justify having so many employees. Another big example is Gillette, a company which sells their products mostly to men. They've decided to show how feminist they are by creating an advert which chastised men for not being good enough and urged them to change. As a result of that, and several other big brain moves, Procter & Gamble, the owners of Gillette, lost $8 billion. customers. Whether you agree with the message or not, the customer is always right. You don't belittle and lecture the customer, especially when there are plenty of alternatives to your products. I hope that you've learned a thing or two about a thing or two by listening to me rambling. Just remember, don't listen to Twitter. Don't get political. Don't attack your core demographics. Following these 3 simple steps will allow you to have a stable and growing enterprise and will make you a successful business person. Thank you for watching.